Hello, welcome to the video with 3 true stories about urban legends. If you feel comfortable, share your experience in the comments. Let's get started. The smell was the first thing I noticed when I entered the room. It wasn't strong, just a faintly sweet and slightly rotten odor that seemed to come from the air conditioning. Normal in old hotels, the receptionist had said when I mentioned it during check-in. The ventilation system sometimes carries strange smells. It was my first work trip, and the Desert Palm Inn had been chosen by the finance department because it was the cheapest in the area. A 3-story building from the 70s with faded carpets and peeling wallpaper along the edges. The kind of place that had seen better days. Room 207 was basic, a double bed, an old TV, a tiny bathroom. The only window faced a dark alley where a street light flickered intermittently. But the price was good, and I only needed to stay for 2 nights. If only I had listened to that first instinct of disgust. If only I had requested another room when the smell worsened during the night. If only the smell grew stronger around 3 in the morning. I woke up to it, that sweet, rotting odor now so intense that I could almost feel it sticking to my tongue. The air conditioning had stopped, and the room felt suffocating. I called the front desk, but no one answered. I tried opening the window, but it was stuck. The smell seemed to be everywhere now, stronger near the bed. That's when I noticed something strange on the carpet, a dark stain slowly spreading from the foot of the bed. In the dim light, it looked almost black, but when I brought my phone's flashlight closer, I saw it was a deep, thick red. My heart started pounding. Something inside me already knew what that liquid was, but my rational mind tried to find other explanations. A plumbing leak, an old wine stain, anything but. I crouched down to look under the bed. My phone's light trembled in my hands as I focused on the darkness beneath the mattress. At first I saw nothing but shadows. Then something moved. It wasn't a natural movement. It was more like something was leaking. A dark mass that seemed to slowly expand toward the light. And then I saw the face. It was a woman, or at least it had been a woman. Her skin had taken on a greenish hue, swollen from the process of decomposition. Her eyes were open, glassy, staring straight at me with an expression that still haunts my nightmares. Her mouth was twisted in a silent scream, and something dark, what I realized was coagulated blood, was seeping from a wound on her neck. I don't remember exactly how I got out of the room. My memories are fragmented. Running down the hallway, pounding on the front desk door, the police arriving. What I do remember clearly is the detective explaining the situation to me hours later. Her name was Amanda Chen, he said, flipping through his notes. Missing for 2 weeks. Our forensic team estimates the body had been there for at least 10 days. 10 days? My voice cracked. But how did no one notice? The killer was smart, the detective continued. He used dry ice to slow decomposition. The smell only started when the ice fully melted. The investigation revealed an even more disturbing story. Amanda wasn't the first. 3 other bodies had been found in cheap motels around the area over the past 2 years, all hidden under beds, all initially preserved with dry ice. The killer had a pattern. He chose old hotels with high guest turnover, booked a room for a single night, and left his gift for the next occupant to discover. Police suspected he worked in the hotel industry. He knew the blind spots of the security cameras, the least busy hours, the cleaning staff's routines. The most unsettling part, the detective told me later, is that he always comes back. He stays in nearby hotels, watching when the body is found. For him, it's part of the show. That meant he had been there that night. He had probably watched me run from the room, called the police. He might have even taken photos, documenting my reaction for his sick collection. 2 weeks later, I received a letter at work. No return address, just my name and workplace typed. on the envelope. Inside there was a hotel key and a note. "You were a fantastic audience. I hope you enjoy the next show." The police tried to trace the origin of the letter, but like everything about this case, they found nothing. I changed jobs, moved to another city, cut all ties with my past life. But some things can't be left behind. Now, whenever I travel, I obsessively check under the bed before I sleep. I carry a motion detector and portable cameras. At the slightest hint of a strange smell, I change rooms immediately. My colleagues think I'm paranoid, but they don't. No, they didn't see what I saw. The worst part isn't the memory of the body, the smell, or even Amanda's face frozen in eternal horror. It's knowing that he's still out there, picking new hotels, new rooms, new victims. Sometimes when I stay at a hotel, even a 5-star one, I catch that familiar scent, sweet and rotten, drifting from the air vent. Last week on a business trip, I found something that made my blood run cold. Under the mattress in my room, carefully placed where only someone searching would find it, a small block of dry ice melting slowly. I changed hotels immediately, but I know it won't matter. He has chosen me as part of his twisted game. Every hotel I stay in could be the next scene. Every bed could be hiding his next gift. So if you ever find yourself in a hotel and notice that smell, sweet and rotten, coming from nowhere, don't ignore it. Don't wait until morning to investigate. Because when the dry ice fully melts, when the smell becomes too strong to dismiss, well, you might be the next person to discover what or who is waiting under your bed, and somewhere, nearby in another room, he'll be watching, eager to see your reaction to his latest show. Comment on what disturbed you most about this story. Now let's move on to story number 2. It doesn't matter how many locks you put on your doors, how many cameras you install around your perimeter, or how much you spend on security systems. Sometimes the danger is already inside your home, hiding in places you'd never think to check. The case of Ruthie Mae McCoy is proof of that, a true story that will make you think twice before using your bathroom at night. It was an ordinary April night in 1987 in Chicago. Ruthie Mae, a 52-year-old woman who lived alone in a public housing complex, was in her apartment when she heard something disturbing. Sounds coming from inside her bathroom wall. They weren't the usual noises from the plumbing. They were metallic, deliberate, as if someone was trying to remove something. Panicked, she called the police at 8:45 p.m. "Someone is trying to come in through my bathroom cabinet," she told the dispatcher, her voice trembling. "They're coming, through the wall." The dispatcher must have thought it was just another call from a paranoid resident. After all, how could someone break into an apartment through a bathroom cabinet? But Ruthie Mae wasn't imagining things. The Abler Homes housing complex had a terrible design flaw. The bathroom medicine cabinets were installed in wall recesses that connected adjacent apartments. If someone removed the cabinet from one side, they could easily pass through to the neighboring unit. "They're taking out the cabinet," she continued on the phone, now clearly panicked. "Please come quickly. They're coming in. The police." Sent a patrol car. But when they arrived at the address, no one answered the door. The officers, hearing no sounds of distress, decided to leave. After all, they received dozens of paranoid calls every night. 2 days later, after neighbors complained about a strong odor coming from the apartment, the police returned. They found Ruthie Mae dead in her bedroom, shot multiple times. The bathroom cabinet had been removed and was lying on the floor. The evidence was clear. The intruders had entered exactly as she had described. The investigation revealed something even more disturbing. This wasn't the first time it had happened. Several apartments in the complex had been broken into the same way. It was a well-known method among local criminals, so common that it even had a name, the cabinet trick. The longtime residents knew the danger. Many had nailed their cabinets to the wall, while others placed heavy furniture in front of them. But Ruthie Mae was relatively new to the building. No one had warned her about the need to secure her bathroom cabinet. The police never found her killers, but the evidence suggested they were residents of the complex itself. They knew the trick well, knew exactly how to remove the cabinet without making noise, and, most disturbingly, had likely been watching Ruthie Mae for days through the gap between the apartments. The case exposed a terrifying reality about home security. No matter how many locks Ruthie Mae had on her door, the danger was quite literally inside her walls. The intruders could study her routine, listen to her movements, and choose the perfect moment to strike. The Abler Homes complex tried to fix the issue after the murder, but the psychological damage had already been done. Residents reported being unable to sleep, constantly hearing sounds in the walls. Some swore they could hear voices coming from the cabinets at night. One woman even claimed to see eyes watching her through the mirror. The stories began to spread. Other communities discovered that their buildings had similar flaws. The cabinet trick became an urban legend, except it wasn't a legend. It was real, deadly real. Someone had been using that space as a vantage point. For how long? How many families had lived there, completely unaware of the voyeur hiding inside their walls? The most disturbing recent case happened in Chicago, not far from the old Abler homes. A college student woke up in the middle of the night, hearing noises coming from her bathroom. When she investigated, she noticed her medicine cabinet was slightly displaced from the wall. Through the gap, she could see light coming from the neighboring apartment and eyes staring back at her. The police discovered an elaborate network of makeshift tunnels inside the building's walls. The suspect, a man who had lived in the complex for decades, admitted he had learned the cabinet trick when he was young. "It's more common than you think," he said during interrogation. "There are people doing this in buildings all over the city. Some do it to steal, others just to watch. So next time you're in an unfamiliar bathroom, pay attention to the medicine cabinet. Is it perfectly aligned with the wall? Are the corners properly sealed? Are there any suspicious gaps? And if you hear strange sounds coming from inside the wall at night, well, maybe you should do what Ruthie Mae never got the chance to do. Run. Because your bathroom cabinet might be more than just a cabinet. It might be a door you don't know who has the key to." Note: a recent survey estimates that thousands of old buildings in major American cities still have medicine cabinets installed in wall recesses that connect apartments. Most residents have no idea about this potential risk, and those who do, well, they no longer use the bathroom after dark. If you enjoyed this story, comment, leave a like, and subscribe. Now let's move on to the final disturbing story. Every city has its urban legends, its horror stories told around campfires. In Staten Island, New York, the legend was Cropsey, a deformed man who lived in the abandoned tunnels of the old Willowbrook psychiatric hospital, emerging only at night to hunt unsuspecting children. For decades, parents used the story of Cropsey to scare their children and keep them away from dangerous areas. "Don't stay out after dark," they would warn, "or Cropsey will get you." It was just a story, a tale meant to frighten kids, until children actually started disappearing. Holly Ann Hughes was the first. 5 years old, brown hair, last, seen on July 15, 1981, playing near her home. The police searched for weeks. They found nothing but her sandal, abandoned on a path leading to the ruins of Willowbrook. The community was in shock. Parents began escorting their children to school. Search groups scoured the area around the abandoned hospital. But no one dared to enter the underground tunnels, that dark labyrinth where, according to the legend, Cropsey made his lair. Then, Jennifer Schweiger disappeared. 12 years after Holly, in July 1987, a 12-year-old girl with Down syndrome vanished while walking to the corner store. The story was repeating itself, but this time there was a difference, a witness. An elderly woman reported seeing Jennifer with a tall, disheveled man wearing dirty janitor's clothes. He was leading her toward the Willowbrook area. The description made the older residents freeze. It was exactly how Cropsey had been described in the legends. The police finally had a real lead. And a suspect, Andre Rand, a former janitor at Willowbrook. When the hospital shut down in 1972 after reports of patient abuse, Rand didn't leave. He continued living in the abandoned complex, building shelters in the underground tunnels. During the investigation, authorities uncovered something disturbing. Rand had worked at Willowbrook during its worst years. He was known for his cruelty toward patients, especially children. Some former staff members reported that he used to hide in the tunnels during his shifts, watching the patients through vents and grates. Jennifer's body was found 35 days later, buried in a remote area of the complex. The urban legend had gained a real face, and it was more terrifying than any story could have imagined. The investigation revealed a disturbing pattern. Between 1972 and 1987, 7 children had disappeared in the Willowbrook area. All shared similar characteristics: young, vulnerable, many with disabilities. And in each case, there were reports of a tall, disheveled man seen nearby. The tunnels beneath Willowbrook exposed the true horror. Rand had created a network of hideouts, some decorated with toys and children's clothing. In one of them, investigators found a wall covered with newspaper clippings about missing children. Some were about his own crimes, others dated back decades. But the most disturbing discovery was the diaries. Dozens of notebooks filled with frantic handwriting, detailing his hunts. Rand didn't just abduct children, he studied them first, sometimes for weeks. He used the tunnels to watch them, play, learn their routines, and choose the perfect moment to strike. "People tell stories about Cropsey," he wrote in one entry. "They don't realize the stories had to come from somewhere. There has always been a Cropsey. I just continued the tradition." In some passages, Rand seemed to believe he was Cropsey, the entity from the urban legends that had haunted Staten Island for generations. "Cropsey existed before me," he wrote. "Now I am Cropsey, and when I am gone, someone else will take my place." Rand was arrested and convicted for the murder of Jennifer Schweiger. Later, he was also convicted for the disappearance of Holly Ann Hughes, although her body was never found. The other cases remain officially unsolved. Today, Willowbrook is nothing but ruins. The complex was partially demolished in 1990, but the tunnels still exist, sealed with concrete after Rand's capture. Even so, locals report strange activities in the area, unexplained lights at night, sounds coming from supposedly sealed tunnels, and occasionally sightings of a tall, disheveled figure. In 2019, a group of urban explorers broke the seal of one of the tunnels. What they found chilled them to the bone: evidence of recent occupation, blankets, food cans, and most disturbingly, newspaper clippings about local children. The police investigated, but found no one. Andre Rand remains incarcerated, with no possibility of parole, but his words still echo eerily. There has always been a Cropsey. In October 2023, a child disappeared near Willowbrook. Witnesses reported seeing a tall, disheveled man leading her toward the ruins. When police arrived, they only found footprints leading to a newly opened tunnel. On the tunnel wall, written in chalk, "Cropsey lives, Cropsey always will." So when you hear an urban legend, remember Staten Island. Remember that sometimes the scariest stories aren't made up. They're based on real horrors. And maybe, just maybe, the legends persist because the evil that inspired them never truly goes away. Because somewhere in the tunnels beneath Willowbrook, in the shadows of Staten Island, Cropsey is still waiting. Whether it's Andre Rand, whoever came before him, or whoever is carrying on his macabre legacy today. The question that haunts Staten Island isn't if Cropsey is real. The question is, which version of Cropsey is hunting now? In January 2024, 2 more children disappeared in the area. Police found only their backpacks abandoned near a newly discovered tunnel entrance. The investigation is still ongoing, but the older residents already know Cropsey has found new prey. If this story gave you chills and made you rethink what truly lurks in the shadows, don't forget to leave a like to support the channel. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any new terrifying stories. Comment below which part scared you the most, and share this video with your friends who love a good mystery. And if you want more dark stories, click on the suggested video and dive even deeper into the world of the unknown, if you dare.